In the studio, it is Jason White. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Paul.
Good to see you.
Good morning. It's good to see you, sir.
Man, goodness. Pretty boy Floyd. Have you seen his picture?
He's a bad dude, isn't he, Paul?
Man, it's... you need to see that. I think it's in several different locations.
Yeah,
all you got to do is Google up.
I've seen it.
His before or after picture looked the same to me, but I'll leave it at that. Man, what a week last week. What a session this has been. It's been an incredible session, Jason. I mean, it really has when you start looking at the magnitude of some of the legislation, and then you also look at what we have on the table. Your thoughts?
It has been, and we're not quite halfway through.
Yeah.
We've still got about a week to debate and pass appropriation bills, what we call money bills, if you will, in our own chambers. So that deadline's coming up 23rd. So, yeah, we'll get through that, and we'll kind of be what I would call halftime, if you will. So we don't have a good halftime show like we did last night.
Which bills that? Let me ask you this: which bills? Let's take the personal income tax. Will that be on the next deadline on the 23rd, as you mentioned? Not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, or will that one not be under that?
No,
that deadline.
As you know, we've already passed it and sent it to the Senate,
Mm-hmm.
and so.
But the Senate's under the same deadline.
They're under the same deadline, but for their bill, yes. If they're going to pass an income tax bill and get it out of their chamber, they will have to do so by March 1st. And you might say if depending on, you might as well say the 23rd, I believe, February 23rd, a week from Wednesday. In other words, they've got about 10 days to pass their bill if they're going to pass one. They've already got ours, but ours is subject to the opposite chamber deadline, which is way on out like March 1st. So it's on out there.
But that doesn't mean it's dead. I mean, you still be working on the House's bill?
That's right. They could take our bill and do something with it. They could put their stuff in it or
do a strike all.
They're so popular nowadays.
Yeah. Well, let's go on and talk about this. I want to see what your thoughts are as far as where we are. Has there been any communication with the Senate at all about this?
There has. We've had several good meetings. The Speaker and I meet with the Lieutenant Governor and somebody from his team every Tuesday morning to kind of discuss the past week and discuss the coming week. And so in last week's Tuesday morning meeting, that was our first, you might say, sit-down meeting since they had unveiled their proposal. They still hadn't passed a bill, but they'd unveiled their proposal. So that was the topic of conversation. He brought Senator Harkins with him, and Josh, a good guy. He laid out their position and their plan, and of course, you know, that was right on the heels of the Speaker had been in with you that morning for about an hour. And so, you know, the Speaker wasn't real happy with their plan and had voiced that here with you. And so that kind of dominated our conversation last Tuesday morning. Having said that, that meeting led to an even better, probably about a 2.5, 3 hour meeting between, there was so much going on because Elbow is involved, the state economist is involved, the folks out at Department of Revenue are involved. That's where we get all our numbers and things from. And so, you know, it's kind of like that old deal where, well, that's not what they told me. Well, that's what they told me. So I said, look, we need to stop this. Josh, you and Trey Lamar, our chairman in the House, y'all need to get in a room with DOR, with the folks from the Legislative Budget Office and sit down where we're all for sure 100% working off the same numbers. And so they did that. It was a big meeting. It was probably tense at times and not comfortable, but it was very productive. And so everybody knows where everybody is going forward. The numbers now aren't a moving target. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to cut taxes and give people their money back, or you want to keep it and you want to and we want to spend it. And the House's position is simply this. We want to give them their money. We don't need all that money, Paul. We funded government. The budget shows that we're going to continue to be able to fund government, and we should move forward with the elimination of the state income tax. And so it's a big decision.
So what you're telling me, Jason, and again, by the way, it's Jason White, who is the Speaker Pro Tem what you're telling me is this, that those three financial entities of state government met with you guys and validated everything we've heard about the results or the consequences or anything else, what will happen if we do this as far as making the future budgets vulnerable. Those three entities in that room verified to the House and Senate that what you guys have been saying and put together in your bill were accurate.
Yes, that the numbers are accurate. The difference is this. The Senate and specifically the Lieutenant Governor, he had a meeting with a state economist last week and had him put out another report. They want to just assume going forward that we're going to take in $6.4 billion next year in 23. Well, we're taking in over 7 this year. We're on track to be at about 7.1, which is what we took in last year. Mm-hmm. And for some inexplicable reason, they want to take a presumption in formulating and looking at our tax plan and their tax plan. We're just going to always take in 6.4. And so they've run all these numbers based on 6.4. Well, that's fine. What do you want to do with this $600 or $700 billion that's laying over here in the corner every year? I don't
want to play devil's advocate here, but what if they're right? What if it is 6.4 and we have a 6.4 for the next, let's say, 3 or 4 years as far as annual revenue?
What if they are right?
I'm asking you, if they are right, does that mean that we can still afford this?
You can't find an expert who says we're going to take in 6.4 next year. They all say we're going to be around 7. And even if they do, look, our plan builds in triggers. Nothing happens unless our economy grows at 1.5%. It's got to be over 1.5% for any trigger to kick in. And we cover the first part, the $40,000 and $80,000 for a married couple illumination on the very front end. We cover that. We cover that.
I agree with you.
Sales tax.
That's something that has to be taken into consideration. If it does have if we do have a downturn, there are some triggers in there, and I think the Senate and the House both have put those in there. So that's good news. So, do you honestly feel we're any closer now, coming out of the weekend, going into the gaveling back in at 4:00 this afternoon?
I do think we're closer. I think that was a good meeting last week. Everybody knows where everybody stands going forward, and so we'll see. You know, everybody around the cap is just salivating over all this money that's laying around, and it's good. It makes for a tougher session in a way than when there is not a lot of money, and so it just goes to the point of we're staring a tax cut right in the face, and I don't know why everybody is so reluctant about it. Instead of finding a way to say no, we're looking for people to find a way to say yes.
What would the Senate have? Has anybody come over and tell you from the Senate what they would like to spend that extra dollars on? Because everything's going to be, as everyone knows, whatever we allocate, like teacher pay, we got to fund in the years to come.
That's correct. So, and we've included that in our tax cut. We have included the new teacher pay raise money in that tax cut calculation.
Did they mention Medicaid expansion to you in those meetings?
They did not.
Yes or no?
No.
No. We got more coming up with the Speaker Pro Tem, Jason White. Right after this, Becky Curry's going to join us, coming up at 8:05. Just reading, Jason, this C-Spire text line from Nancy in Tupelo, who was apparently on a flight in Phoenix, and she sent me a couple of pictures on C-Spire text line. She said, "This is what I saw in a Phoenix airport yesterday. Unescorted illegals wearing ankle bracelets, boarding flights in different directions. There were at least 2 on our flight to Memphis, all over this country. And they're getting the airfare and I think a check for several $100s to wherever they're going. Most of these are not babies. Most of these are young men, teens, and young adults. It's crazy what's going on in this country.
It's just
it is
unbelievable.
So let's leave the personal income tax and put a ribbon on this one, though. So where do you think we're going on this one, and what will happen this week as far as personal income tax?
Let me say this. Unlike so many issues that show up at the cap in the form of a bill or an idea or a policy position, personal income tax, or the elimination of our personal income tax and getting rid of it, it doesn't have a lobbyist. It doesn't have a group that's been hired to show up and say, hey, guys, girls, we really need y'all to vote for this. We need this tax relief. So it puts it in a little different position than most things that we as lawmakers hear about, because normally any hot button issue, you've got lobbyists pulling at you from both sides trying to tell you their position and why you should or shouldn't do this. This one doesn't have that. And so there's nobody waiting on those state senators when they get to the Capitol to say, hey, I need 5 minutes of your time, or I need to take you to lunch and buy you a sandwich and tell you why you better or you should do this. Really, those lobbyists are the people of Mississippi, the taxpayers. But we are finally starting to hear from those people, and it's probably a result of stirring it up here on your show and speaker going all over the state and all the different things that people are doing to get the word out. But we are finally, like today, when I leave here, my phone will blow up from constituents or friends or old friends or people saying, man, y'all need to do that. Why is the Senate not playing ball? Why are we not doing this? That kind of thing. So the pressure is starting to heat up a little bit. It's just a matter of, can we get it on across the finish line?
I told anybody, regardless if they're in the House or Senate, and look, I think the Senate's done a great job on many, many things. In this particular bill, though, I just do not understand it because they're so far apart on this. Either just take the House bill and reject it, but going through the motion on the bill that they provided was a little bit to a lot of people, and I heard the word insult, and not just me. There were a lot of people on our C-Spire text line. 99% of the people on the C-Spire text line and on Twitter have been for the House's bill at this particular time. I think most people would like to see those two blended together, but I don't think a lot of people want to see most of the financial stuff changed in the House bill.
Well, I would love to see it blended together. We've said from day one, nobody's holding our plan up as a perfect plan. We just think it's a starting point, and let's do it. Now, I would say this, eliminating the 4% bracket, that is $200. So that's $200 annually you would save. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a real part of their plan. I wouldn't go to folks with a $5 reduction in their car tag and say, boy, we cut the state's portion of the car tag out of the deal. I mean, you get run out of the Rotary Club meeting if you told them that at lunch. So parts of it are a little bit disingenuous, but those are good guys and girls down there. We're gonna continue to work. I got faith in them, and I think some kind of way we're going to find a win for the people of Mississippi. I tend to be that guy that the glass is half full anyway. So I think we're going to find a way, and we're going to get there. Paul, I got to tell you while I'm sitting.
Hold on one second. I've heard, and we'll end it. I've heard from about 2 or 3 former legislators who've been in it a long time, and I think 2 of the 3 basically said this will be the biggest campaign issue to get reelected in the state of Mississippi. I do not doubt that at all. More so than just about anything else. So where you're sitting, what's your view there, sir?
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I feel like, sitting in your chair and over here, it's like, in my job as pro tem, I preside every now and then when the speaker's got to meet with somebody or is getting on a plane to head somewhere to speak or something like that. So when I sat down in your chair this morning, I saw all these video boards and these buttons and levers to pull. I kind of felt like I did the first time I sat in a speaker's stand up there. I was a little bit overwhelmed, and I may have turned a few of these knobs for you that you'll have to adjust when you get back in here.
Perez will have to worry about that in the next guest. But it does bring to mind when I return to that studio to maybe get a gavel. That
I think you
may not be a bad idea. May not be a bad idea.
Let's have a roundtable on income tax, and you can get a gavel for that.
There you go. Is there a brouhaha brewing in the House and Senate as far as the broadband money and how to spend it?
They passed their bill last week with an overwhelming unanimous vote that created a broadband commission, if you will, and it laid out some parameters. I think that's a good first step, the bill that they passed. I don't know that our bill will I don't know that we passed a bill that only created a commission and didn't do anything else. So that bill will continue to be worked on by both chambers. It's a lot of money. There's already money. We have about $160 million has already come in. There will be a few hundred more million come in specifically for broadband. So, and over the next 5 years, probably $1 billion. So how this commission looks, who runs that commission and that type thing will be very important because a lot of money will flow through there as we try our very best to get broadband access to our rural folks and folks that don't have it. We just want to make sure that the issue is about this. How much overbuild are you going to allow somebody to do in the name of getting to folks, as I say, at the end of the road or at the end of the line, and they want to be able to serve as they run these new lines to folks that are out there and don't have it. They want to be able to hit these spots, on the way, that might already have service. So that's where the debate is there going to be overbuild or, that sort of thing allowed?
One of the biggest bills last week that probably resonated with a lot of folks in the state was the velvet hunt on antlers, the velvet hunt on deer, maybe moving into or getting a late September hunt. And I kind of wondered why in the world it took us that long to even put that proposal out there. Have we had that as a bill in the last couple of 3 years? I don't remember it.
I don't remember it either. So we talked about that, and none of us that were in that particular group could remember it before now. But Paul, we start hunting something in Mississippi and on Labor Day, and we don't quit till My sister just invited me to a big rabbit hunt at her farm in the Delta this weekend. And I'm like, I'm ready for just a little bit of a break. We've been hunting hard on the weekends.
Well, and it spurs the
but everybody wants
economy.
It. Everybody wants it. It spurs the economy. Hey, it's one of the great things we have here in this state, and I want to insinuate the positive as much as we can. And our hunting and fishing and outdoors is top notch. I never want to do anything as far as state government to mess it up. I only want to do what we can to help it and make it better.
Well, let's talk about that, because from the velvet antlers all the way to the wildlife fund. Where is that stand? We are again, House and Senate is apart on this one. The Senate, the Lieutenant Governor doesn't like the diversion. But the House has got that in the bill. Speak to that, Jason.
Well,
again, we're with Jason White, who's the Speaker Pro Tem.
He doesn't like the diversion. You said it. You summed it up. We think it's good policy. It's very popular with the voters and the taxpayers and the sportsmen and outdoors people of this state. I've received as much contact from constituents about that bill as I have about any other bill we're fooling with over the last couple of years. They want that, and it's not going away. That's a strong House position to get that bill passed and get that into law. And so I don't know what's going to end up with that. But the House, we hadn't moved off of our position. We've got two bills on it that we feel pretty strongly about.
I was a little bit amazed by the House or the Senate bills to actually, to me, it seems like complicate the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks by making it the Department of Wildlife Fisheries and then taking Parks and having a different director for that, two co-directors, which seem to be just kind of muddling it up a little bit. There are more and more people saying, stop it. The best place for parks is going to be in tourism. If you're going to spend or create anything new, create the Department of Tourism, because it is a monster out there as far as an agency that will support itself and make money. We'll talk about that in the final segment with the Speaker Pro Tem. February, final segment here with the Speaker Pro Tem, Jason White. Real quick here, because the Senate did pass that bill to make co-directors of the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. There are more people who said, let's take parks out to market it, to do the right thing because it brings people in. And tourism is, I think it's the fourth largest generator of revenue in our state, and it's growing fast in the state. So your thoughts on that quickly.
Paul, I don't know that the House is looking at creating the separate branches under Department of Wildlife and creating. I think something maybe makes more sense in line with creating a Department of Tourism of some sort and having a board there and getting parks, getting them out from under Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks and getting them over in tourism where they probably should be, where some more focus will be there. We're fixing to spend about $50 million of our ARPA money on tourism over a 3-year period. That bill, if it didn't come out last week, it'll come out this week. it's, again, like we talked about our outdoors earlier, our tourism is one of the good things that we have here in Mississippi. We need to promote it better, put a little more focus on it. And our parks have gotten, it's to the point they have been neglected, and we've got to do something. What we're doing is not working. We have some beautiful parks, and we plan on spending some money on them through the ARPA and through Department of Tourism, and we'd like to see that move forward.
We don't have a long time left here on this segment, but Becky Curry's coming in. We'll be talking about what happened with her last week, which was, and I think it was held on a motion to reconsider. So is that where it is now?
That's where it is now. And today is the deadline to dispose of motions to reconsider on any original floor action of bills that generate in your own house.
So in other words, that would happen?
So in other words, the bill came up on Thursday. She offered her amendment, which passed on a voice vote, and then the bill passed with that amendment. And I'm sure y'all have gone into great detail and looking at her amendment, and she'll probably do that with you again this morning. But then the Chairman Hood, Chairman of Medicaid, held that bill on a motion to reconsider. And so, once the chairman does that, the bill is in the chairman's hands, so to speak. He can, in other words, if he held it today and let the deadline pass and we came in and then adjourned today without him disposing of that motion, that bill would die. And that bill in its original form was about removing the stranglehold language on rate increases or decreases as they go to providers and dealing with Medicaid. Now, there was some language in there that kind of tightened that up with regards to rates and providers with Medicaid. And that's the bill that she chose to amend with regards to Centene, one of our managed care companies, providers in the state. And, the amendment also, while it did that and would basically prevent Magnolia or Centene from doing business in the state as a managed care company with the state of Mississippi, it also created a carve-out for a nonprofit managed care company, which is, I can interpret that for you. That's the Mississippi Hospital Association's managed care company that they want to put in place.
So all of what we know about Centene, all of the money that it's took, all of the people out there saying it's broken, it's not working, you're basically telling me that Joey Hood could stop all of that. I'm not sure how much, has Joey Hood have you received any money from Centene?
Yes, I would submit to you that probably most members in that legislature receive donations from Centene.
And all of that's available on Secretary of State's office.
It is. It is
on the website.
Yes.
So we don't know how much he's received. Steve Holland basically said that the speaker received $25,000, which is not unusual. Again, it's not illegal.
That's
but
correct.
You're telling me
That's
that
correct.
If Joey Hood holds that, then he is just validating the Centene contract for another, 3, 4, 5 years?
Well, that wouldn't be validating it. I mean, that RFP is over at Medicaid.
In a process, it would be, though, wouldn't it? Because
it would. Paul, that's a far-reaching amendment. And again, maybe the first part about Centene, that in and of itself is a huge deal. But then on top of it, the amendment goes further and provides a carve-out for one particular entity to participate in managed care. So all that's got to be worked through. But again, hey,
well, wait a minute.
You heard the
Jason,
vote.
Couldn't you work through that with an RFP? Just change the language and do an RFP on a basis and let them prove that they're the best entity for that.
No, they're the only one that exists under the way the amendment was crafted. I'm not submitting to you that will ultimately become law. We'll be discussing that today.
We'll talk more about this.
I would say tune in at 4:00 today and watch the session and see what happens before you throw any.
We will do that and have the audio to do it. But again, looks like Centene and Joey Hood will be in the spotlight.
Play more.
Thank you, guys.
Paul, play more Glenn Campbell when you can.
We'll do it. Appreciate it.